Hi there, business owner, and welcome to the 3Bs podcast, the place where we go beyond the numbers and dive into strategies to help you build a better business one step at a time. I'm your host, Stephanie, a multi-award-winning entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in the bookkeeping and accountancy world. If you're a business owner looking to streamline, grow, and get back the time that you deserve, you're in the right place. We're tackling real-world problems, answering tough questions, and digging deep into business-building secrets in just 15 minutes each week. So are you ready to build a better business with confidence and clarity? Then let's go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to place for 15 minutes of CPD certified motivation, inspiration, and education to help you build a better business. I can't believe we're almost at episode 150. I cannot believe we have consistently been here every Thursday for over 2 years, and I hope that these episodes are really helping you build a better business. Now, this week's episode, I've got a feeling may ruffle a few feathers, because there's going to be some home truths here, but I really hope that you take from this with love that I am speaking from experience. I have also made the same mistakes, and I am trying to build a better business right alongside you. If you've been feeling busy but not particularly profitable, or if January has highlighted a few uncomfortable truths about your cash flow, and if you don't know what I mean by that, do go and listen to last week's episode, then this week's episode is for you. Because today we're talking about pricing, more specifically why your pricing might be holding your business back more than you realize. This is not about charging premium just for the sake of it. It's about alignment between your time, your expertise, your energy, and the income your business generates. So let's get into it. Most business owners don't wake up one day and think, oh, my pricing's wrong. It shows up in those little more subtle ways. You're fully booked but still stressing about money. You resent certain clients or types of work that are coming in. You keep saying yes because you feel you can't afford to say no. That's a big one. You're scared to raise prices because you think your client will leave. Your business feels fragile despite working hard. Sound familiar? These are not motivation issues. They're more often than not pricing issues. Pricing affects more than income. It affects your client's behavior, it affects boundaries, workload, and most importantly, your confidence. So why is underpricing so common? Because it is one of the most common things I see with all the businesses that I work with. Underpricing is very rarely actually about the maths and the pricing itself. It's more about the psychology. Most business owners start pricing based on what they used to earn when they were employed, what competitors are charging around them, what feels comfortable to say out loud, fear of being seen as expensive, and fear of losing work by being too expensive. But here's the thing, your pricing needs to reflect the cost of running a business, not just the task itself. Now that includes your time, your expertise, your overheads, your tax obligations, your risk, and your capacity. If your prices don't cover all of that, something else pays the price. And that's usually you. Let's link this back to last week's episode because, like I said, last week's episode was about cash flow and how in January it really does tend to magnify any red flags that are already in your cash flow. I think January is such a tight month anyway for many people and many business owners. Post-Christmas, sales are down, suppliers still need to be paid. That cash flow problem highlights more red flags than usual, and sometimes people blame it on January when actually there's a much deeper cash flow problem. But poor pricing actually creates those cash flow problems, even in busy businesses. If your margins are too tight, one late payment or a quiet month can knock everything off balance. And that is why it's so important to plan ahead and look at your cash flow on a regular basis. By margins, I mean what is left from the money coming in to money going out on each product or service that you sell. That is why January often exposes those pricing issues, because when volume dips, weak pricing has nowhere to hide. And if you need constant sales just to stand still, then your business model isn't working and we need to do something about it. You're probably thinking, okay, Stephanie, so what are we supposed to do? What are we meant to review in our prices? Where do we start? If you're questioning your pricing, I would start here. First, review your most time-consuming work. Does it generate enough income for the effort involved, or is it quietly draining your business? Quite often I see this more in service-based businesses and product-based businesses. And that is because when you are selling a product, it's much easier to work out the manufacturer cost, the labor cost, and the things that make that product come to fruition before you sell that product on. When you're service-based, there's no physical, tangible product at the end of it. So you often priced dependent on what everybody else is charging or what you used to charge when you're employed, not taking into consideration the labor cost for you to do that work or whoever else is doing that service work for you. Second, review client behavior. Now, I hate to say this, but clients who pay more usually require less chasing. They usually respect your boundaries better and value your expertise. Those that start to haggle you on price, want the cheapest deal, want a discount, don't value you, and are usually the ones that are messaging you at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night stressing about something or requiring your attention outside of working hours, or the ones that give you the biggest headache. I'll let you into a secret. In the bookkeeping and accountancy industry, we call them pitters. Pain in the, Third, review your capacity. If you're fully booked at your current prices, that's often a sign to increase them. Now, I've heard all the excuses, but I don't know how long each service is going to take to provide. I don't know how many orders are going to come in. You still need to look at your capacity of your working hours in your week. Take away that CEO time. Take away the time you need to run your own business. Then look at how long it takes to produce each product, to package each product, or to provide each service. And when you're looking at services for capacity, I always tend to add an extra sort of 10% on to cover any nuances, particularly in the bookkeeping and accountancy industry. When you start looking at a set of accounts, normally there's a million different rabbit holes you end up going down, and a 10-minute job turns into a 2-hour one. Bear that in mind when you're looking at your capacity. And also, what do you want your business to look like? Do you want to work 9-5, or do you want to make sure that your capacity actually is just 9 till 2:30 between the school runs? It's your business and you get to choose how you want to build it. And fourthly, review when you last raised your prices, because I can probably guarantee it's been years or even never. But if it is either of those things, you're likely behind. You only have to think about all the subscriptions we pay annually. Our telephone bills, our music, whether that's our Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Premium, your Virgin Media or your Sky TV, those prices go up every single year. So if you've not raised your prices in a long time, you're likely behind already. And finally, review your confidence. This is a big one. Pricing clarity gives you confidence. Confidence improves sales conversations, and that cycle matters. Now, what I mean by that is if you are confident in your pricing, that comes across when you're talking to potential clients. It also means you're less anxious about having those sales conversations, which makes it easier for you to convert those sales into clients. If you're a product-based business, if you're not confident about the price of your product, then you're going to have the conversations of it's $29.99. Oh, and then in your head, you're already starting to discount it. You're already starting to go, oh, but they're not going to accept that price. That I'm going to actually go for something smaller, or I'm going to put a discount on this because then they might buy. So suddenly a $29.99 product, you're already going, okay, yeah, but for you, I can do it for 24. Or if you buy 10, I can do it for 21, or whatever it may be. And you're already underpricing and undercutting yourself more and more and more. James Ashford once said, when you give a price, just give the price and sing happy birthday in your head if you need to. You need to be comfortable with that silence. You need to be comfortable with that thinking time that the client or the potential client's going to need to convert them into a client. It's really important to not fill the gaps because you're actually talking yourself out of pricing. And if we're looking to build a better business, which I presume you are by watching or listening to this podcast, we have to start having those conversations. We have to start building that confidence in our own pricing. And what I don't want to happen is for you to panic. And when I say raise your prices, I don't mean overnight shock changes. The website changes overnight. You send out an email to all your clients that from tomorrow it's going to go massive. You can do it in stages if it's easier. So you could start by just increasing prices for new clients first and keeping your legacy clients, your existing clients, at the price they're currently paying. This works best for service-based businesses, obviously, but you can also just increase prices for new clients first. You can introduce or remove tiers or packages. So that's something we're going through at ABCS UK right now. We are a premium bookkeeping and accountancy service. We also do business development. It's not something that somebody should be paying £250 a month for. It's far more valuable. There's far more work involved with the new tax changes, with making tax digital and companies' house changes and ACSP and all the things we talked about on previous episodes. So actually that £250 a month tier no longer serves us. I am severely underpricing, which means that we will be removing that tier. So we already had tiers and packages, but that tier no longer serves us. So that tier needs to be removed. We no longer sell that smaller package to our clients. So again, if you're service-based and there's services that you don't like doing, they're not very profitable, they take up lots of capacity, you dread having to do that one job or task, remove that service. If it no longer works for you, you need to look at selling more of the things that you do enjoy. I understand that I am in a very lucky position, that I absolutely love Mondays. I don't know if you remember, there was an advert at some point on the TV, I think it was one of the recruitment agencies, where it said, love Mondays. Like that was their big slogan, was you should love Mondays. And I know I'm in the minority here, but I love Mondays. I love coming to work. Mondays are my busiest day. I'm usually back-to-back meetings and podcast recordings. And I love coming to work on a Monday. If I didn't enjoy it anymore, something would need to change for me. So actually look at services, removing services that no longer work, removing products that don't sell, that are really awkward to get manufactured or very expensive to get manufactured, and there's not a lot of profit margin in there. Sometimes it's not about increasing prices, it's taking away the things that don't no longer serve you in your business. Importantly, communicate changes clearly and calmly. I think it's really important that you send an email out or you speak to your clients, however you sell your product or service, that you communicate changes clearly and calmly. And I always think it's nice to give a little bit of breathing room. So we often will increase prices in April. The emails will go out in January. Or we like to give at least 30 days notice for any changes that are about to happen. When it comes to pricing, when it comes to software changes, when it comes to any changes in our business, we like to communicate them clearly, calmly, and give enough time for those emails to be read and absorbed, because we all know what it can be like as a small business owner. Our emails can sometimes be 200-300 a day, and you flag it knowing you've got to go back and read it, but you don't actually get there for a week or two. And finally, anchor your pricing to value and not hours. So many people, and I started at £10 an hour when I started this bookkeeping practice. It didn't last very long, but I did start at £10 an hour. Anchor your pricing to your value. And by value, I don't mean how long you've been in business, although that is a fact that needs to be taken into consideration when you're looking at your pricing. But if you're starting out as a new business, but you are qualified to provide that service, and the service is providing a great transformation or outcome for the client, then you should be priced into that value. A lot of people say you should price to transformation rather than the actual service itself. If I come to you and go, oh, I sell bookkeeping and accountancy services, that's one thing. If I say I can increase your sales, I can help you increase your sales by 587% by streamlining your processes so that you save X amount of hours every day. Those sorts of transformations and that language feels more valuable. Therefore, that attracts a higher pricing naturally, because the value in the transformation is delivered across better, I think is the best way for me to explain it. Because if we're building businesses, that's probably not sustainable. And if you looked at your margins, by the time you've taken out your overheads, that £10 an hour becomes nothing. And this is about sustainability, not squeezing people. I'm not saying charge £500 for a £50 service at all. However, if you're providing that level of value, absolutely. You need to be fair and you need to make money. This is a business, it's not a hobby. And I've said this a few times before, and I've got heckles up before when I've said this. People have got quite offended. But if you are not making money in your business, if you are not taking a wage, if you are not paying a salary, if you are not increasing your income on an annual basis, then that's not a job. That's a hobby. It's not a business. It's just a hobby. And if you want a hobby business, absolutely fine. But if you're looking to build a better business, whether that's more money, more time, something that feels better, then you have to start making these tough decisions and pricing accordingly and gaining confidence in that pricing. I think is going to be really helpful for you. So if January has made you question whether your business is actually working as hard for you as you are for it, pricing is a really good place to start. The goal isn't more clients necessarily or selling more products. It's about having a better alignment with your values, with your overheads, and looking at your business as a business and not treating it like a hobby. Next week, we're going to talk about systems, the ones you actually need in place before Q1 gets any busier. If you found this episode useful, please do like, rate and review, subscribe and hit that notification bell on YouTube because it helps this podcast reach more business owners who need these conversations too. If you know a business owner that is undercharging, send them this episode and hopefully it will help them raise their prices and reassess their values too. All the links and the support are in the show notes, so do get in touch if you want to get a 15-minute discovery call with me. We do offer help with pricing, we do help with consultancy, and we do help with systems and processes in your business. If you need some support or just a sounding board and somebody to see if they can sense check you, then grab a free 15 minutes. The link is in the show notes and I'll see where I can help you. Thank you so much. This is the 3Bs podcast, episode 147, and I'll see you next week for the next one. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. I hope you found it useful and that you're walking away with some motivation, inspiration, or education to help you build a better business. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and of course connect with us on social media for more insights, tips, and behind-the-scenes content. Your next step in building a better business is just a click away. I can't wait to connect with you, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.